And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget your chance to see Dennis Miller floor seats coming up Thursday morning. We'll be at Mountain View High School, but promote our school, secure our future. We'll be at Mountain View thanks to CapEd and Team Mazda Subaru. And it's a new event we're starting in the spring, Thank You Thursdays, where we thank you for listening to Kevin Miller in the morning. Speaking of the show, our code 2 cash word is purse. You know, everybody has a purse. Usually most females, sometimes even men have purses. But purse. Purse is cash code word 2 for Win Kevin Miller's Cash, where you could win up to $5,000. For more details and to play along, go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. Joining us now is the CEO of the Coalition for a Prosperous America, Michael Stumo, to talk about, well, what's going on with China, the trade war, the tariffs. Is this a good thing? Is the president right and the market's wrong? Michael, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
These are good times for you. You are our Chinese expert, our China expert. Your thoughts on what's going on with China?
Well, the end of appeasement for China's economic aggression is over. Trump started, he announced what's called Section 301 tariffs against China to respond and address their technology theft of U.S. intellectual property. And they just released yesterday 1,300 different products that they're recommending have a 25% tariff applied. Now, China has, in fact, responded with fewer number of products, including some agricultural commodities that are fairly traded that we didn't subsidize or anything else. They're responding with fairly traded products. But this is going to be a counter-move situation, and China needs to be brought, back into a reciprocal type of trading system where they don't rely excessively on U.S. consumers for growth.
Well, when we take a look at the stock markets, they continue to go under. Why? And people are talking trade war. Do you agree with the president's move?
Yeah, we agree with it. Markets always overreact at first, and then they settle into, something based on the fundamentals. We've encouraged the administration to, do everything at its disposal when they do their counter moves to make sure that U.S. agriculture is protected, including creative use of domestic programs. But what happens, let's say, soybeans are indeed a high export to China. And what happens is soybeans are overproduced in the world because Brazil and other countries are overproducing. If China were to go somewhere else for a few of their soybeans, like from Brazil, then we would fill in where Brazil was previously selling. It's a global market with fungible commodities, so the bilateral trade is really more noise than fundamentals. So I'd expect any market activity to last a week or two and settle back into fundamentals.
Well, we saw that with the election eve and everything else. Everybody was scared about that. What's going on with the Chinese reaction? Obviously, in Idaho, we trade a lot with the Chinese when it comes to our produce and our beef and such. But what do you think the Chinese reaction is initially, and what will it be down the road? Because, Michael, as we know, they play the long game.
Yeah, and hopefully we're playing the long game now. But the typical reaction and expected is that the Chinese or anybody else would announce tariffs on politically sensitive products. Agriculture is a politically sensitive product because, or subparts of agriculture, because they're widespread in many districts, and it tends to be from districts that elected or voted for Trump. So there's a political sensitivity to it. As to cattle and beef, we're not in trouble at all because we're a net importer. We'd be better off shutting off some of the imports and growing our own farm and ranch industry. As to corn and soybeans, we're a net exporter. We should consume more by raising more cattle here. But as I said, the global markets are global supply and demand. After all these free trade agreements, farmers have been in a dire income situation anyway, so we've got to figure something else out.
Let's go to the main thing here at KIDO Talk Radio, and this is something that you've written. Chinese firms have repeatedly hacked America's leading companies, stolen proprietary technology to build their economy. U.S. firms are not allowed to sell in China unless they manufacture there. American companies are also required to transfer key technology at coercively low prices, all in exchange for short-term market access. Then local competitors drive American companies out of the market. Why have we done business with this country, although a huge upside with these unfavorable requirements that you've covered for years?
You know, Bill Clinton said in the year 2000 that we're letting China into the WTO, and all those practices that you just mentioned and I wrote about will end. He said that in 2000, 18 years ago. They didn't end. They got worse. China just announced this program called China 2025 to double down and become the high-tech leader in the world. They become a high-tech leader by stealing our tech, by coming over here and buying our companies, et cetera, et cetera. And everyone has this free trade religion that just doesn't work. It doesn't exist. This is a strategic trade world in the national interest. And that's one thing the president's doing, is shifting us to a strategic trade footing.
Michael, let's continue on here. So what do you say to people that are worried about, that have heard the hyperbole in the press, that cars, that anything made with steel, the prices are going to go through the roof, there's going to be inflation because we can't win a war with China, a trade war?
Yeah, so that's the opposite of the truth in this way. Because we currently absorb the rest of the world's overcapacity, we're the consumer of last resort. They have grown to depend on us more than we've grown to depend on them. That's why Trump tweeted a couple of weeks ago, trade wars are easy to win. It's because they're dependent on us. If we refuse to be the absorber of all their overcapacity, they have to readjust because they depend more on us than we depend on them. We've had countervailing duty and other tariff orders every year under Bush 2, Obama, Clinton, and the like. There's a lot of data on tariffs already. They didn't make the news much, but they're constant with enforcement cases and trade enforcement regimes here. And we just don't see the consumer price increases that everyone hyperventilates about. The data isn't there.
So what's next? How does this play out in the short term? Again, I'm watching MSNBC, and they gleefully are going over how the market's going. I love this. Stock sinks on trade war with China. Yeah.
So the stock market is a lot higher than it was a year ago or even 6 months ago. So we've got to, I have a retirement portfolio. I try to ignore the noise. Everyone else does too, or should too, I should say. If you're taking that long view, it'll come back to the fundamentals. But we've had two sets of tariffs now announced. One is steel and aluminum, which is 0.05% of 1% of our economy on national security grounds. The second set against China is a little bit bigger part of our economy, maybe, I don't know the percentage, but a little bigger, $50 billion worth of imports. That's on tech theft, cheating grounds. So we've got to get through this and show that the world doesn't end when you start protecting your interests, and it won't. We'll know that in 3 months. Everybody who hyperventilates will be proven wrong. The next step is how do we get to rebalance trade so we sell from the U.S. at least as much as we buy, so we're not offshoring our industries, our technology, and the like. That will be really big. We haven't yet done that in the trade deficit reduction sense, so that's the next step.
Michael Stumo joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. Will the president get any support from Congress, or is he just going it alone?
He's not getting much support. He's getting a little bit of support from, I would say, 10 to 20% of Congress vocally. A bunch of them are of Congress that was opposed to past trade agreements. A lot of them are Democrats, and so they don't want to be supportive of the president. Actually, the biggest problem in Congress has been the Republican free traders, Orrin Hatch, Kevin Brady, Paul Ryan, and the like. And they were very opposed for a while, and I think their tone is moderating. They are moderating because they're seeing the Chinese 301 tariffs are just. They're not the end of the world. They're seeing the results of the steel tariffs. So I don't know that they'll ever be supportive, but just as the press is going to see that this is working. In fact, Trump is causing the rest of the countries in the world also to crack down on China's overcapacity, something they were refusing to do. He's rearranging the deck chairs, and interestingly, the Trump administration is becoming the new WTO, regulating how world trade works based on access to the consumer market of the U.S., because the WTO has failed. So it's a very interesting historic transition going on now.
Michael Stumo, if people want more information on trade and how it impacts their lives, what can they do, sir?
Go to prosperousamerica.org and sign up to receive information.
Thank you once again, my friend.
Thank you, Kevin. Take care.
Thank you. Michael Stumo joining us with the real news concerning the insight on the trade war and how it's good for America, right? We won't hear that anywhere else. Anyway, KIDO Talk Radio, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This was big news yesterday, and this is one of the reasons why, we're for the home team. We're all about conservatism. We're all about the Republican Party. We're all about, what the president said yesterday. Would George Bush or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton have the guts to say this?
So I told Mexico, and I respect what they did. I said, look, your laws are very powerful. Your laws are very strong. We have very bad laws for our border. And we are going to be doing some things. I've been speaking with General Mattis. We're going to be doing things militarily. Until we can have a wall and proper security, we're going to be guarding our border with the military. That's a big step. We really haven't done that before, or certainly not very much before. But we will be doing things with Mexico, and they have to do it. Otherwise, I'm not going to do the NAFTA deal. NAFTA's been fantastic for Mexico, bad for us.
Exactly. Who has enough guts to say this except President Trump? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It's about time that we secured the borders. Now, other people, the libs, are going to say, well, what do you think? No. It's not about that. This is the right move at the right time. And thank goodness President Trump is doing this. This is what, we're not talking Stormy Daniels. We're not talking the Russians. We're not talking any of this collusion to try and usurp the power of the President of the United States. This is why Donald Trump was elected. He's going to build that wall, as Sean Hannity talks about every afternoon. Love hearing Sean. He's going to make a difference. And yes, let's put the military down there. Let's stop the narco-terrorist. Let's show them that nobody messes with America. I mean, it's preposterous. It's absurd. It's ridiculous that the most power, and let's remind the critics, both internally and externally, the most powerful nation on earth is the United States of America, something that we are all proud to be legal citizens of, that we were born here, that we've come here legally, that we've immigrated legally, and we will protect the United States of America. The lawlessness, the sheer disrespect for the rule of law that went on with Holder, Lynch, and Obama, that era is over. That era is done. And the idea that we couldn't stop a caravan that really the folks there being used by the folks in Central and South America to come into this country to dump these folks in. It doesn't help them. It disrupts us. And like the president said, the president of the United States saying to the Mexican government, you have good laws.
Oh, Mexico.
We don't. Well, we have good laws. We just don't enforce them.
I did. I said, look, your laws are very powerful. Your laws are very strong. We have very bad laws for our border. And we are going to be doing some things. I've been speaking with General Mattis. We're going to be doing things militarily. Until we can have a wall and proper security, we're going to be guarding our border with the military. That's a big step. We really haven't done that before, or certainly not very much before. But we will be doing things with Mexico, and they have to do it. Otherwise, I'm not going to do the NAFTA deal. NAFTA's been fantastic for Mexico, bad for us.
It's about time we're doing good things for us. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. David Leroy, you want to say anything? You just kind of dropped in today.
I just heard your dialogue on Trump and the border and the fact that Mexico has strong laws and we have weak laws, and I think that whole thing is a very significant commentary on the inaction and ineptitude of our Congress in creating proper laws to back up proper borders. We really do need border security, and if Trump is going to take bold action, then hooray for him.
You just happen to be swinging in. I got to, you're working. This is your stop on the trail. How's it going, by the way?
Well, very well. We've got a couple of meetings today, one in Fruitland for the Chamber of Commerce, and then subsequently this afternoon in Payette for the VFW, a couple of congressional forums. But people are now beginning to pay attention to the race for Congress, and that's good for all of us, I think, because clearly, as you've just illustrated with your remarks, Congress has plenty of work to do to get this country in shape.
And you're ready to work.
I'm tanned, ready, and rested, just like Richard Nixon.
Well, we look forward to having you in.
Be my pleasure. I'll call in soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care. Our great friend David Leroy joining us from the trail right here at the Broadcast Center. You never know who's going to swing in. Let's go to the phones, and we go to Matt Otter joining us now at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Kay Millie. How are you doing this morning?
I am living the dream, and you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Hey, Kevin, this morning we're going to Imagination Land, okay? I want you to sit back, close your eyes, and just envision a giant train rolling through the middle of America, all right? Now, you either get on board or you get out of the way. It's Trump train time, and we're not going anywhere, and he's going to get the job done, Kevin.
Well, what do you make of the military there? I think it's a good move.
I think it's a great move. I've actually never even thought of that before Trump said anything about it. I'm like, wow, that is a great idea. And with Mad Dog Mattis down there, nobody's going to want to jump the border wall.
Or Mad Dog Matt Otter.
Hey, let me loose, Kevin. Let me loose.
God bless.
Hey, God bless. Have a good day.
All right. Let's get you to traffic and weather together. And back to your phone calls on sending the military to the border. Thank goodness President Trump knows what's going on. Ron Paul Jim and the trade war. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Morning, Kevin. I just want to, just an observation of what has taken place. Obviously, the establishment in Congress are beholden to the corporations that that pay their campaign, and they all these multinationals benefited from the trade deficit into this country. Bringing all these imports and avoiding all the tariffs and with these free trade agreements. We saw what happened. We saw the companies leave. And this whole illustration with the illegal immigrants that commit crimes and they're removed from the country and then they just come right back in and get caught again. Citizens of the United States are sick and tired of not being as important as everybody else in the world. We're literally held accountable for crimes. We're basically second-class citizens compared to both Congress and all these favored groups that they like to cater to. And, to me, it looks like this is all part of the Agenda 21 and in NAFTA, which was supposed to, be a borderless country, no sovereignty, the end of any sort of, identity to the United States. In fact, there's been an attack morally on this country saying that we don't have a culture and that we're, somehow empty of any sort of culture. The United States was an idea. It was created with the idea that we would have this independence, that we would have a chance of opportunity as individuals to succeed. That was it. Not handouts, not anything, dished out by government, but simply, hey, you got a chance to make it, but you have to make it, And I see this as the first time in a long time that anyone in power in our country has respected those beliefs. It is what our country was founded on, and it's abandoned it. Both parties are trying to tank the country. They're trying to overburden it and collapse it under the social system so that they can bring in their, regional or world government, whatever it is they're trying to do. I think that, that's why Trump won. It's why we have, we're sick and tired of our laws not being respected, our borders not being respected, our sovereignty being destroyed by both parties. And I just don't really even see Russia as the bad player compared to all these other countries. Saudi Arabia and Israel both lobby, and they have lobby firms. The only difference I see between them and Russia was, I guess they did it legally, but is it moral that we even have an influence from other countries on our elections and our politicians? I don't see the difference.
Ron Paul, Jim, thank you. More of your calls next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And coming up, Ronnie and Liberal Steve. Before that, Senator Crapo joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Good to be with you.
Good to talk to you on the road in beautiful Idaho. So these are going to be the atypical softball questions you get from good old Kevin Miller here.
Never a softball.
Senator, first off, the military on the border. It looks like the caravan is dissipating. Your thoughts on what the president said yesterday, sir?
Well, we haven't seen the details of his plan, but I pretty much understand that what he's saying is that since Congress could not get the funding for the wall put into the budget in this last budget deal, that he's going to go ahead and use the military for security until Congress comes around and gets serious about border security. Both President Bush and President Obama used the National Guard in occasions, and I don't know whether that is what the president is contemplating. I personally do not like the idea of using our military on the border on a permanent basis, and so I hope that this can get resolved soon.
Senator, a lot has been written about and spoken about the president, but you're on the inside. You're chairman of the banking committee. How different is life under President Trump versus 8 years of President Obama?
Well, the way I answer that question is, and it's interesting you put it that way, because I've said a dozen times or so, at least recently, that I spent most of the last 10 years fighting against things that I think were really bad ideas and trying to stop a lot of bad things from happening. I spent most of the last 14 months fighting for good things and working on an agenda of growth and strength for America. And so I'm really happy about that. And I can just throw out a few examples that I can talk about. Let's talk about the Supreme Court, putting a phenomenally strong conservative justice on the Supreme Court in Neil Gorsuch. The tax reform bill that I've been personally fighting on for more than the last 10 years to try to get our outdated and, frankly, dangerous tax code in terms of dangerous to the economy reformed. And the list goes on. We fell one vote short of repealing and replacing Obamacare, but that battle's not over. And so, the short answer to your question is, I think we're fighting for the right agenda now. And although the fight is still tough, I'm really pleased with it.
Senator, something that you and I talk about quite a bit, the budget, the debt, the deficit, your thoughts on this omnibus bill and its repercussions, sir?
Well, as you know, I voted against it. It was the way it came about is that the Democratic Party, at least the Democratic contingent in Washington, D.C., does not want to allow the president to have funding for the wall. They were willing to go along with the extra funding for the military, but only if billions and tens of billions of dollars, actually over the next decade, hundreds of billions of dollars, were pumped into other programs as well, and the spending spree continues. And although I supported the military spending, dangerously let our military decline in terms of readiness, I did not believe we should pull out all the rest. There were some important things in there. For example, I think you may know that the fire borrowing bill that I've been working on for 7 or 8 years now was in that budget deal. And a number of other good things were in that budget deal. But it just blew out the spending too much. And so I ended up voting no. I think the consequences are that we're going to have to go back and start repairing some of the damage that the excess spending in that budget will cause.
KIDO Talk Radio, our great friend Senator Crapo with us. So let's take a look at the markets. They're having a rough week since the tariffs with the Chinese. Your thoughts on that as someone, again, who covers and is intimately involved in the economy like folks here are involved in football?
Well, a lot of what we see in the international arena, which a lot of the analysts are saying is a big part of the problem, as you indicated, the consequences of the trade policy efforts that the president has been undertaking. Things like trying to renegotiate NAFTA and issuing tariffs on steel and the counter actions to that are coming from other nations like China. And that's one where I am a little more concerned about what President Trump is doing. I do believe that we need to renegotiate a number of our trade agreements. Frankly, the United States was out-negotiated for about the last 10 or 15 years in trade negotiations. But I don't believe.
Well, we lost the senator. We appreciate that. Thank you, Senator Crapo. Safe travels. Liberal Steve joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, I tell ya, Crapo didn't sign the ag bill in 2015, so we can't grow hemp in Idaho. When 14 other senators and states signed it, then grow hemp, and we're still importing $300 million worth of hemp from China, and we're not putting any tariffs on it. And the pork, they're worried about the pork tariffs when the largest pork manufacturer and slaughter in the United States is owned by China in Virginia. Come on, none of this trade war. Kevin, this is fake trade news. That's what this is. It's like the fake caravan when they're showing a big party. Oh, it's coming to the north.
No, they're not. We've stopped them. We have stopped them.
That was fake caravan stuff. And
well, some people would say you're a fake caller.
So what's
all right, let's get back to Senator Crapo here at KIDO Talk Radio. So, Senator,
sorry about that.
No worries. You're on the trail. We appreciate it. So, back to this issue with this trade war. Many people fear that, goods that we've gotten for free, or not free, but cheaply, cars, televisions, computers, that price is going to go up. What do you think?
I think that there's validity.
Well, we lost the senator again. We'll probably have to reschedule on that one. So, reluctantly, we go back to Liberal Steve at KIDO Talk Radio.
Senator of the United States can't even get a phone that works right? Come on, Miller.
Of
course, he is a budget director. He probably bought one of the cheapest ones he could find.
He's a fiscal conservative, sir.
Yeah, he is, by golly, especially on Christmas Eve. Anyway, let's get back. Can you tweet a wall? I don't think so. I promise you will. And calling out the Mexican government that their laws are tough and ours aren't.
He's right.
That's as bad as Obama.
He's right, and we love America, and we're going to save America.
Yeah, if Obama would have said something like, our laws aren't tough, but yours are, everybody would have been, oh, Obama's saying we're weak, and da-da,
Well, Obama's gone now.
That's why it was not the majority that voted for this idiot. That it was a minority.
Did a minority elect Bill Clinton?
Said no, because the majority of Americans know.
What do you mean the majority of Americans? The Electoral College was a role for President Trump.
Yeah, Electoral College.
You know something? It only matters what the Constitution says. So you can have all the people illegally voting in California, illegally voting in New York, and in Texas.
Illegally voting
That's where all the illegals
Idaho,
are. There's 4 states where all the illegals are. And you know something?
Same old
America saved
it
itself by voting for Donald Trump, sir.
And the weather's getting stormy, I'll tell you. Anyway, I'll tell you, Miller, it's not going to happen.
That's all you have. That's all you have. The weather's
Military
getting
on
stormy.
the border.
You know something? The economy is booming. People
Oh,
love
yeah, the
America
economy's
again.
really
And you know
booming,
something? Whether you or your liberal ilk like it or not, we're back.
You know, you've got
America
all these
is back.
conservative callers
Myself,
calling in. You got all these
Sean,
conservative callers calling in
Lars,
saying
the
how
big
broke
three.
they are.
It's great.
And you
Great.
just try and-
Finally, we're
and
proud
you
of
try
who
and
we have in the White
overtalk
House.
Anybody that's making any sense constantly. Come on, Miller.
No, the criticism
Give
I
a
get
fair
is I let
shake.
people talk too much.
And then you had that good buddy of the Florida teacher on. Come on.
All right. Thank you very much. Ronnie in Caldwell with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
I don't normally agree with Liberal Steve, but come on, Miller. He's got a point there, dude, and I sort of like when...
Let's go to Jim in Meridian with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. One question that I like to ask, or you could ask when you have on a Senator Crapo or any of the Idaho delegation, in fact, Congressman Labrador, is they've been up there in Washington a long time. They've been up there for years. They've been there a long time. Why haven't they introduced a bill to repeal the Anchor Baby Amendment? Pretty sure that's the 14th Amendment, and that's their job. They know it needs to be done. They've been there. Why hasn't he done that? And that's one of the big causes of our troubles right now is that Anchor Baby Amendment. It needs to be repealed, and they're the ones who are paid to go there to do it.
Well, not only the Anchor Baby, but this whole idea and building upon that, the tourism baby, where you have people coming in from China and other parts of the country just to have their kids in America so they get citizenship.
Exactly. That's been going on for a long time, and, I mean, that's a lot of cases. That's just not one or two. I mean, that's thousands of cases by now where they've flown in and had their baby, and these guys have all been up there long enough to they may say, well, it's not going to pass. We don't have the support. I don't care about that. Their job is to introduce that bill. What is their position? Introduce that bill. They should have done that years ago. Not today, but years ago. And the senator, unfortunately, is ignorant on using the military at the Mexican border. We did that long ago. If you read the book by General Doolittle, you may recall the name. The students of history out there may recall vaguely General Doolittle did the raid on Tokyo
Right.
in 1942 to show them, just like the Chinese now, that this stuff works both ways. You can't just have it one way. It works both ways. General Doolittle writes in his book that he was on the border, flying patrols on the Mexican border himself in the 1920s, and it worked. It worked. I believe our Army and Marines should be on our Mexican border right now. I was an Army officer. And we need to pull back the troops that we're paying for in Germany. We don't need troops in Germany. In South Korea, we don't need to pay for their border and defense anymore. Why are we guarding their border and not our border? Those troops should be on our border, like every other country in the world. Every country in the world has its troops, its military, on its borders, except the foolish, silly United States.
Joe, great call. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning here. You know, in a story that will not be reported, by the way, good morning to our friend Joe Bell in Nampa. A phone number is here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This won't be reported by the major news media, but thanks to our friend Greg Pruitt for pointing this one out.
Through your mind with, people dropping, being shot multiple times, bullets whizzing, people bleeding. What's going through your mind?
Well, Leslie was on my mind, but at the same time, I knew, I had to be smart. You got to be smart. You got to be fast. You got to think fast, get smart. I didn't have a gun on me, but wish I did.
I'd have a gun on me. I wish that I did. Repeat that one more time.
You got to be smart. You got to be fast. You got to think fast, get smart. I didn't have a gun on me, but wish I did.
Are we going to start banning YouTube videos? Let's use the same argument that David Hogue and all the other folks that are tired of people being able to protect themselves and everything else with the Second Amendment. Well, let's ban YouTube because this woman, who a YouTube employee, she felt that YouTube discriminated and filtered her. Well, it's YouTube's platform. So she gets a gun and starts shooting people up. Here's a man that said, I wish I had a gun. Right? In one online rant, she complained that YouTube censored her content by imposing an age restriction on one of her workout videos, because they were too racy. Now remember, the company, which is not a friend to conservatives, did the same thing for Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj. So she blasted YouTube saying there's no equal growth or opportunity on the YouTube. Obviously, this person was deranged. It does go to the question of maybe it's time to ban social media. Oh, Kevin, social media does a lot of good things. It does. But on the other hand, this woman was so infatuated with YouTube, was so focused on the YouTube, that what did she do? It became her life. And when YouTube said, we're uncomfortable with you, instead of having a logical, reasonable conversation or putting the digital video platform in perspective, she lost it. A 27-year-old Iranian. Which poses the question, A, there's no Second Amendment, there's no 20th Amendment, there's no 30th Amendment for the right to social media. If it's going to be disruptive, just like our parents and you as parents or grandparents have done, if the child can't handle something, what do? You take it away. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Time for traffic and weather together. And Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Well, think about it, right? Think about that. Okay? Oh, it's at YouTube. It happened to one of these great Silicon Valley companies, right? Come on. Come on, everybody. It's crazy. It is crazy. So again, at 580-5436, let's just ban YouTube. Let's ban YouTube. Let's ban cars. Let's ban everything else. That's the same argument David Hogg has been using. That's one thing. And let me just share this with you. By the way, don't forget, today at 3:05, code 3, cash code, Kevin Miller's cash code. We'll give you that on the Sean Hannity Show. Look forward to giving that out. Your chance to win up to $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. Imagine going on a vacation, paying off bills, having a good time, buying a car, buying some supplements. I don't know what you would do with $5,000. I can't win $5,000, but you can. Details at KIDOTalkRadio.com, right? Number one. Number two, somebody the other day said, I just can't wait for this primary to be over. Not me. This is the World Cup, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, all rolled up into one. This is where politics matter. With the incredible amount of turnover, with the plethora of candidates running, some qualified, some not qualified, with the intensity on the process, this is what we need every day. And this is the time they listen. This is the time we hold them accountable. Unlike any other primary or election season, this is where being engaged, and if you're an expat from California, whether you're a Gem State native, whether you moved here east of the Great River, or you're from Washington or Oregon or Utah, now is the time to be involved. We live in a small state where local activism can make a difference. You know, we didn't have a Second Amendment group many years ago. Greg Pruitt took that on, made it happen, and now we have some stronger gun laws protecting people that want to protect themselves. It can happen here. We have to be the keepers of the flame, right? So please, let's not let the primary end. Ray and Maya, great job as always. Tomorrow, your chance to win tickets to see Dennis Miller, my non-cousin, and Mountain View. We're ready, Mavericks. Are you? Kevin Miller, God bless and keep the faith.